welcome back. Today we're going to be changing gears a little bit, I suppose. A very serious topic, but also on a different topic than I usually speak on. If you are familiar with Linux and open source, great. I support it. I don't support the movement they're trying to push with it, the political agenda they're pushing with it, but I support the spirit of open source. I very well support that. So I'm not trying to discourage anybody away from Linux, but the story I got on that is kind of a heavy one. So if you've used Ubuntu, however you want to pronounce that, or especially if you use GNOME, this person has had a part in all of that, in making a good bit of that. Jeremy Bitcha, I'm gonna say Bitcha, a child sexual predator built your desktop. That's his picture. Why is it that the people who scream the loudest about safety are always the least safe people in the room? That is a great question. Like, safe space, safe space. You're assaulting, you're offending. Is like, really, with what you do?
Yeah.
Meet Jeremy Bitcher. If you use Linux, you've used something he touched. Ooh. If you use Ubuntu, he helped pick what gets installed. If you use GNOME, you've seen his name in commit logs. If you're a Wayland user, you probably heard him yelling at someone. That's the display server. That's the software behind what gets put up on your screen to simplify it. You probably didn't know he's a convicted sexual predator. Not he said, she said, not a gray zone HR complaint, not an edgy tweet from 2007, a documented conviction, state listed. He sexually abused his younger sisters, more than one. He's listed on the Florida Sexual Predator Registry. He worked in open source. He is employed by Canonical, and nobody said anything. Okay, now there's a slight update on that. He was employed by Canonical after Lunduke, which, yeah, I always watch Lunduke. I really like what he does. You can look him up. Is always about software, usually about open source software is what he speaks on, and the wokeness in it that's unnecessary. After he spoke on it, the attention came, and they finally got rid of him out of the role. But he's not out of the community, but he's out of that particular job. You know what's worse is when he went to Canonical, the company that runs Ubuntu, they first didn't hire him because of his convictions, and then he tried again, and they hired him. So they're like, "Oh, I guess it's all right that if you did that to your sisters thousands of times." And yes, in the court documents, and I've heard it, that it was said thousands of times.
What the hell is wrong with people?
The open source world has become obsessed with speech policing and reputational enforcement. The new culture isn't about whether your code works, it's whether you're safe, inclusive, and aligned with community values. Okay? Richard Stallman wasn't safe. No, okay, in case you don't know, Richard Stallman, he had an open source movement before Linux ever was a thing, before it existed, before anyone ever thought about it. Without him, open source wouldn't have been possible. Linux would have never been built up to be usable on a modern computer. It was the GNU, the new, or some people might say GNU, but I think that's silly to say that way. But he had helped build a lot of the software that made it possible. So this Richard Stallman, he's autistic, right? He made a comment in 2019 about the Epstein case that offended a mailing list full of ideologues. It was tone deaf. It was dumb. It was autistic. It was not an endorsement of Epstein and its and it was certainly not worse than what Jeremy Bitcha did. Oh no, 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 no. Okay, if he did what this person did, I'd been like, yeah, you get rid of him, do worse than get rid of him, actually. But no, he didn't. But the open source community ousted him for it. You know, they kicked his ass out for it. Like we
Yeah.
ban him everywhere over a comment.
Okay, but okay. They did that to Mr. Stallman over a comment, and they
Yeah,
let this.
and you could say he's the grandfather of all open source, essentially.
Yeah. But then they turn around and let this
Predator.
predator thrive in their community. Oh, come
Yes.
on.
Yes, and he's still in it. He may not be employed by Canonical anymore, but he is most definitely still in it.
Why
Let's
isn't
not.
he in jail?
Good question. Well, okay. Their line was before they got rid of him. Their first line was, "He served his time." Yeah, essentially. I mean, that's the takeaway. He served his time. It doesn't matter if somebody served their time if they're like that. No, he even got up and spoke at a I forget what they call them, but Linux get together, right? Linux and open source get together where children were present. Yeah,
Oh,
you don't let that happen.
no.
Okay, so it says, let's not sugarcoat this. Bitcher pled no contest in 2010 to charges of sexual battery of a child under 12. Yes, under 12. His own younger sisters were the victims. A judge entered a conviction in 2013 and 2025. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement finally listed him publicly in their predator database. Maybe it because he wasn't an adult yet. I don't know. 2025. Why did it take them 12 years to list him?
That's a good question.
Okay, but get this. They didn't list him as offender. They listed him as predator.
Oh,
Predator, which means it means legally speaking, they deemed him that he would likely repeat offend. He would keep doing it.
yeah.
And not like, oh, he slipped up and did this bad thing. More like he seeks out to do this bad thing.
Why is he not in jail?
This classification requires a pattern of abuse or force. It is not assigned lightly. And look, here is his record right here.
He needs to be in prison.
He
He
needs
just
to. He needs to be. I don't know. Chemically castrated on house arrest. I don't know the best way to handle it, but he doesn't need to be writing people's desktop software and be at conferences where children are present.
no. Oh my God. Well, the thing is, you know, I I'm dumbfounded. He needs to be locked away from
Well,
people.
you know what's bad? There's probably a lot of people just like him out there. There's probably a lot of them, unfortunately. And when I say that, okay, let me clarify. There's most definitely a lot of people like him out there, but I'm talking about in these LGBTQ movements, in these inclusive environments. There is an increasing amount of people just like that that seems to be in concentrate in these environments. And
Yeah,
don't shoot the messenger. Do your own homework. Do some research. You're gonna find that it's true.
yeah, that is true. I just, you know,
Like it says here, what makes this even more disgusting is that these people spent years telling you that your behavior, your jokes, your opinions, and social awkwardness makes you dangerous. Here's the thing: on one particular Linux forum and group, they banned the hug emoji. where there's a little emoji of arms out like that, because they considered it essentially sexual harassment. But they let people like this in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, as it says here, but Bicha, maybe it's pronounced Bicha now that I think about it. Bicha sounds more right. But Bicha, he's fine. He is a professional, apparently, meaning, oh, no hug emojis. We can't use terms like slave and master, even though they're technical programming terms. But somebody does that, yeah, come on in, yeah. Okay, so like I was mentioning earlier, the Wayland server, or Wayland, however you want to pronounce it, for decades, what presented the desktop to you, uh, software wise, was the X server. But they made a replacement for it called Wayland, and a lot of big companies took part in this. Now the X server is still quicker and more efficient and more compatible. Wayland's kind of a mess right now. But someone, okay, it says here, when X11 developer forked the project to work on a modernization called X Libre, Bicha lashed out. He accused the project of harboring fascists. He vandalized their documentation. He declared the fork unsafe. So somebody came and said, I'm going to revive the old X11 so we can keep using it since it's more efficient and more compatible. He attacked it as fascist, and he vandalized its documentation.
Oh,
He's not the only one. Whole load of them did it, actually.
okay.
See,
So,
they made the argument that only they get to choose what's open source. That's not the way open source works. The GPL license of open source says anyone can fork your project as long as they release the code back out to the public. Anyone. But now
well,
we the open source community arguing for, no, you cannot. We will not allow you to continue the
but,
spirit of open source and fork a project.
well, see, that's what I was going to say. That doesn't mean that it's open source anymore if they're doing like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Now there's different versions of open source. There's kind where you can read the source code, but you can't make your own version of it. There's kind that you can do anything with it, even take it and then call it your own and close it down. There's different types. But yeah, this is flying in the face of the spirit of open source. Uh, the main reason they're doing this to certain projects is because they don't align with the values. This person brought forth Ex Libre. His cardinal sin, get this, was when he released it, he says, I'm calling on developers to come help me with this project. And I don't care what your ideology is. I don't care who you follow politically. I don't care what you do in your spare time. If you can help, come help. That was their problem. Because he didn't say, we don't want no red hat, MAGA. We don't want no this. We have an inclusive environment. We include these kind of people, because he didn't follow their ideology. That's why they're blacklisting his software.
Okay.
Okay, that's a load, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot. I
Okay,
mean,
this is the face of a predator.
yeah.
And these predators have been making their way into media, video games, movies, and even open source, or you might could say especially open source software. Remember that face, remember the sicko, the sickness of it all. Yeah, I I don't want to look at that anymore. That's all for now. We're out.